Well, good morning, everyone. Look at this Wednesday, halfway to the weekend. Good morning, V Slims. Then we have another V Oakley. So glad everyone is here. Now, before I get to my usual spiel, talking about the weather, bitching about OJ, talking about my garden, things I've seen on the news, I have to give a huge shout out to our friend Kat's Hodgepodgery. Today is her birthday. She has gone around the sun. Actually, the sun's gone around her again. Or how does that work? Either way, we're going to sing her happy birthday. Also, if it's your birthday coming up and you want to be part of the show, send me an email. Tell me, hey, Brooks, my birthday is such and such day, and I want to show you some pictures of me or my hobbies or my kids or my pets. Don't be shy. Everyone here is super nice. Super nice. We have a great group of friends, do we not? Now, I tell you what group of friends are not very nice. Well, one is my cat, who, for whatever reason, if the litter box isn't 100% brand new litter, he decides he's going to shit on the floor. So right now I'm on strike, and I am not talking to OJ. So now when he interrupts the show, no one say, oh, that's OJ. I hear OJ. The best thing to do with attention-seeking narcissistic behavior is to ignore it. And that's what I'm doing. But I'm not going to ignore our friend Stacy, because Stacy Etter, guess what? Her birthday's today too. Damn, we're having a birthday party. Happy birthday, Stacy. Wow. Tell you what, now September is a really busy month for us for birthdays. It is. And, August too. Because, August is our, What Would Pat Do's birthday. I've actually got something really special picked out for her. She loves my gifts. Don't you, Pat? Pat loves them. Pat loves them. All right, before we see Mike and talk about what pink we have on today, I want your opinion. Your opinion on something. Because I'm raring to go today. Well, you better believe it, I'm raring to go. Do you think it would be I'm going to be selfish, okay? I'm going to be a narcissist like OJ. Do you think it would be because I don't want to put anybody on the hook, my best interest to speak about this Epstein thing? Or do you think it's going to get crazy wild if I talk about it? Put a 1 in chat if you want to have a civilized adult discussion about the Epstein thing, or a 2 saying, nah. Okay, True Crime Beat already said, maybe not. Teresa said 1. Kat's thinking about it. She goes, oh, Jazzy's all about it. Look at that. Kimberly's all about it. Wendy said no. Delana said 1. Look at you all go. Diva said 2. Oh, look at this. Chrissy's always on my side. Look at that. A bunch of laughing faces, and she said, good luck with that. You know, that's the reason I have such good friends, because they don't mince words. They don't mince words. They don't mince words. They'll flat out tell me to flip a bar stool over and sit on it. They'll say, get fucked. And that's a stupid idea. Woo, look who's in here. Cat OG. Hey, y'all strangers. 43 years in Candace time. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about it. Look at that. Well, let's take a second and tell Mike good morning, because, well, we have our Wednesday traditions.
Oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
I have on pink shorts today. Does anyone have pink on today? We have to. Look at Jovi. I'm wearing a hot pink shirt, hot pink skirt, and a pink shirt. Woo, girl. That's what I'm talking about. Pat K, her toenails are pink. Delana said she took a run in her pink shorts this morning. Stacy has on a black and pink dress for Crystal Rogers today. That is a show I have got to do this week. I have a lot of catching up to do, because thank God for that. Kat's Hodgepodgery said no pink today. Damn, well, you don't have to. It's your birthday. Chrissy said I got pink flowers on my PJ pants. Well, way to go, Chrissy. Way to go. Granny, she's got pink on. I see something highlighted right here. Cat OG said, hey, I got a little bit of time to listen. Wishing everyone a great hump day. Cat, since you're listening, should I do a show about this Epstein nonsense? Actually, I'm going to let everyone meditate on this. Think about it and put in your answer. It's easy. Yes or no. You don't want Chrissy's smartass mouth in here. Yeah-oh. Exactly why I asked. Cat OG said, honestly, you don't want my opinion on that shit. Oh, I do. Because I'm fuming. Russ said, yes. Look at that. His icon is pink. See, Russ has pink on today. Bama Cat said, one thing for sure is the government is lying to us. Yeah, since 2002 about this whole setup. It's multinational. I'm not going to get into it right now because we have other things to discuss. Travis Decker is still on the run. So the YouTube pundits, I'm going to go ahead and say the psychics, were wrong. He's in Canada. He's already dead on the Pacific, the PCT. He's dead somewhere in Washington. Woo. He's been spotted in Idaho. Let's take a second and tell everyone good morning and get to it, because he is a dangerous man. KTVB. I couldn't believe it when I saw it yesterday. It's like we're watching, it's like that show, Where's Waldo? How the hell did he make it without hitchhiking that far from the other side of Seattle, 11 miles from the Canadian border, over into Idaho? Yes, he has been spotted. Yes, a picture was taken. Yes, the tattoos match his. And it is scary. They said this is they didn't say the most. It's definitely a credible tip. Okay? Definitely a credible tip. Oh, hold on. Our friend Dallas is in here. He lives in that area. I'm going to go through this clip while he gets situated to come up.
Well, the hunt for a Washington man accused of murdering his 3 daughters has moved to Idaho.
Travis Decker has been on the run for more than a month after he allegedly kidnapped his daughters and killed them in Washington state.
Now, people in rural Idaho are telling law enforcement they may have seen him. Abby Will.
U.S. Marshals have closed off this park. Okay? They have closed off the park. And they're concentrating again there. He's not dead. That's going to hurt a few people's feelings because they kept saying he's dead. Like Idaho needs anything else going on. You have that crazy ass Lori Vallow. All right? They spent gazillions of dollars on that bitch and Chad Daybell. You have Brian Koberger. Well, we saw how that went. Remember how that whole thing started? Everybody said, "Oh, it's the boyfriend. It's the guy at the food truck." With all of this going on, let me tell you, what are they going to do about Michael Vaughn? Michael Vaughn is still missing.
Is live in the Sawtooth National Forest where authorities are now searching. Abby?
Brian Morgan, the U.S. Marshal Service tells us that a family may have spotted Decker right here in the Bear Creek campground area. And I'll show you a little bit of video now of this area today when it was light out. It's in the Sawtooth National Forest, and it's very desolate with several rolling hills, brush, and large trees. Now,
I've been through there. I have. Yep. I was on the truck with my husband. He was on the way to Oregon. We went through Idaho. Beautiful country. Really is. So I know, well, I don't know like the back of my hand, but I know this area. So he's hiding out there somewhere, according to the people that know. Don't ask me because I don't know. Okay? My initials are not LKR. All right? And I don't use Google Earth like Emma from Crime Stories Obsessed.
Ada County Sheriff's Office, Caldwell PD, Coeur d'Alene PD, Idaho State Police, and the Idaho Department of Corrections are just a few of the agencies on scene that are assisting with the search. That's alongside the U.S. Marshals Greater Idaho Fugitive Task Force. There's also a helicopter circling the area looking for Decker. Now you're seeing a picture now of Decker on your screen. The family thinks that when they saw him that he was 5'8" to 5'10" and wearing a black mesh cap, black gauged earrings, a cream-colored t-shirt, black shorts, had a long ponytail, and was wearing a black Garmin-style watch. They also say he had a JanSport backpack on, either Converse or Van low-top shoes, and looked, quote, tired and exhausted. Now, Decker is wanted for 3 counts of kidnapping and 3 counts of murder.
Look at those beautiful little girls. Look at those beautiful little girls. Look at them. bags over the head, zip tied around the neck, kicked down into the ravine, and he takes off. That's according to the police. That's according to the police. Oh, we have our friend Dallas in the background. He lives in the Seattle area, so he hears more of the buzz than we do. Well, hello, Dallas. What do you think about him being in Idaho?
Crazy.
Well, what is your local news saying?
I haven't heard anything like the Saltist Mountains is in central. My question is, how did he get to central Idaho?
Now, my understanding is that they have been telling people do not pick up hitchhikers. How can he get, I'm going to roughly say, 500 miles away without some sort of mechanical help? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he hitchhiked. Somebody picked him up.
Now, remember, his dad said he's known for putting these caches out in the woods so he can get from A to B to C. And a lot of people that are hiking, they're on vacation, they're not paying attention to the TV, to the news. They're just gonna be like, hey, buddy, come on, you want to ride? I could really see it happening.
Of his 3 young girls, Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia Decker. He had picked the girls up from their mom's house and never returned them. They were found suffocated and dead at a campground in Leavenworth, Washington, about 30 minutes from Wenatchee, Washington, where the girls were found. And there have been possible sightings of Decker throughout central Washington in the last month, but this sighting, again, is here in Idaho. Now, it's about a 10-hour drive to get from central Washington to here where we are now, so definitely a long ways for Decker if this sighting was true here. But if you do come upon him, the U.S. Marshals Service is asking the public to not go near him. He may be dangerous to go near him, but instead to contact the U.S. Marshals Office at 1-800-WANTED-2. We'll have all those links on our website at ktvb.com.
Insane. And these are sightings that are being backed up by the U.S. Marshals. Normally, when the Marshals sweep in, they find their guy really fast. But remember, he had a 5-day start. So they have to start with the crime scene and work out. I assumed he was in Canada. How far is the Canadian border from you, Dallas?
From where I am, probably about 2 hours.
Okay. Because they said where he was is about 11 miles.
And so basically probably about hour and a half, 2 hours.
Okay.
So there are ways to cross into Canada illegally. You have to go through the woods to get into there.
Well, it seems he's not in Canada because they're basically circling this forest in Idaho. Now, I'm not going to lose sight of what he did, allegedly, to these 3 beautiful little girls. Okay? It's not all about him. There's 3 innocent lives lost. So his ex-wife, Whitney, I'm going to let her say her words.
I just have a short something to share. Good evening, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. You all look beautiful, and I know that Evie would have loved to ooh and ah over all of your outfits. She would have been amazed by all the color out there and just thought you guys look fantastic. You know that Peyton would have sought each and every one of you out to try to find something to give you a compliment for. She did that for everyone, whether it was in the grocery store or at school or with me, always telling me, oh, you look so beautiful, Mom. I love your earrings, or whatever it was that she could find. I wanted to share a means of connection the girls and I had that I think allowed them to have such warm and open hearts to the community around them.
Does anyone besides me think that Whitney could possibly be in danger? Now, she's in Washington. He's been spotted in Idaho. I've always been wondering if he's not going to find some way to stay off the grid and circle back and do something to her. What do you think, Dallas?
Well, I think she's in hiding with like a friend, because if I was her, I wouldn't go to her family, especially if he knows where like her parents or her sister lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she's with a friend hiding out till they catch him.
Have you heard if she has law enforcement protection?
No, but I wouldn't doubt it. That wherever she is, she probably has a cop car sitting outside wherever she's at.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he's so sick that he might just think it's funny to let her live with it. Like he'll let her live with it, knowing that she's lost her husband, who she was trying to reconcile with, trying to get him help, and that she's lost her daughters. He's really sick. He's hurt her in the worst way. Now, I know there's people saying, well, he can't help it because he's mentally ill. Well, I just don't think there's a person on the planet that can't help it, per se. You know what I mean?
In my opinion, I don't think he'll hurt her because he already hurt her by taking her daughters away.
That's a great point. He's already done the ultimate to her. That's it.
After my divorce, there were a lot of feelings flowing through my house. As you could imagine, me going through a divorce with 3 small, tiny women. Some of the feelings were easier to talk about than others. Through the girls' time with Children's Home Society and some incredible therapists, we discovered the 3 feelings. At night, during their bedtime routine, I would ask them what 3 feelings they felt during that day. No feeling too big or too small, and what was going on when they felt those feelings. For Peyton, she always had more than 3, consistently eager to tell me about every minute of her day. She was always interrupting her sisters to make sure I knew every single one. For Ev, we would talk about her feelings one-on-one, right at bedtime, because she wasn't always ready to share them with her sisters. And for Olivia, we were still working on how to describe all of her feelings, but beyond a shadow of a doubt, one was always happy. Even when I tried to avoid telling my feelings, which is so easy to do as an adult, I feel like, the girls, one of them would always say, wait, Mom, you didn't tell me what yours were, and make sure that I too would tell them what my 3 feelings were. I'm so thankful for the time that I had with the girls, and how the 3 feelings allowed us to connect when the world slowed down. And it really gave me an inside look into their day. I believe doing this with them allowed them to come into the world with open hearts and kindness. I hope that you are all able to do some version of the 3 feelings with your loved ones. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight and the outpouring of love that you have shown me and my family over the past few weeks. I truly hope that the legacy of the girls' lives lives in everyone's heart forever. They were incredible.
Heartbreaking. How does she move on from this? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. We have seen a lot of things come coming out of Texas where children have been washed down the river. You know, people clinging to life, trying to survive. I just don't know how. They say God doesn't give you what you can't handle. She has to have so many emotions going on. And the Daily Fail didn't help when they put that article out pinpointing ways that she could have saved her children. Did you see that, Dallas?
No.
It's on my community post, and my face fell off. I'm like, this is not the time to victim blame at all. At all. So now, I don't live in the area. Going from where he was, you're familiar with the area, into Idaho. Okay, it's been a month. I don't know that somebody can walk 500 miles in a month. Exactly what route would he take to get there?
To avoid major cities, what I think he did was
I think I lost you, dude. I think I lost you, dude. Well, while he's getting reconnected, I just saw Everyday's birthday girl come in. And guess what? Today is her actual birthday. You all give a huge round of applause, a huge shout out to our everyday birthday girl, Kimberly Mann. It's an inside joke. If you know, you know, but today is her actual birthday. Well, she's heard that song a million times, and I can tell you right now, today is her actual birthday. Well, a squad member of Travis Decker's has put in his 2 cents about what's going on in his mind. It will not explain why he did what he did to his children. Nope, that's not going to happen. I don't think we can ever explain what's in someone's mind. I don't care who you are. So let's look at what he has to say.
Alejandro Guzman. Everyone is anxiously trying to learn more about Travis Decker.
Yeah, so Ali, you've been in contact with somebody who was in the same Army platoon as Travis Decker. So what are they telling you?
Well, they're sharing quite a bit. I can tell you that there's more clarity now as to who he is, his personality these last few years, and some of his recent behavior following this tragedy. Now, the individual who I've been speaking with does want to remain anonymous, but they did share these images of Decker back from 2017 after they were finishing a march in Europe. The two were in the same squad, in the same platoon, in the same company, while they were stationed together in the 503rd Airborne Brigade combat team with the 173rd Airborne in Italy. They tell me Decker was kicked out of Ranger Regiment for failing Ranger School. Now, many of you have been...
Okay, let me say this right now. Because he failed Ranger School doesn't mean he's not a survivalist. It doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. OJ, what the hell are you? Did anyone hear that? Did anyone just hear what OJ did? Did you hear that, Dallas?
no.
Okay. All right. So because he didn't make it through Ranger School does not mean he doesn't know what he's doing out in the woods.
Questioning whether or not he was a ranger. We've all seen some of the same photos of Decker in his uniform with a ranger patch, but according to my source, he wasn't, because after getting kicked out, that's when Decker was transferred to their platoon, and that's where they shared a little bit more about who he was, just saying that he was a fit but quiet guy, sort of an outcast, yet a hard worker and a bit of a narcissist. They tell me by this time, Decker and Whitney already had their firstborn, Peyton. Decker eventually did warm up to his comrades, sharing that he aspired to be like his father and talked about getting back to special forces, but they say he never did. They say it was like Decker had some big shoes to fill. From what they know, his father was a Green Beret and he worshipped him. They did remain friends on social media, but they say that after these murder and kidnapping accusations, well, Decker actually deleted all of his videos and pictures and started unfollowing the majority of those who were in his company. Now, again, the loss of Peyton, Olivia, and Evelyn are hitting his teammates hard. They say that everyone who served with Decker is feeling betrayed and are distraught to learn of what has happened. That's the latest. Back to you.
Okay, so when did you hear the news that the U.S. Marshals and basically the whole kitchen sink was looking for someone in your area, Dallas?
When I saw a video of Brian Enton posted on TikTok saying that he was in central Idaho like 2 days ago.
Oh, okay, but I mean when this originally happened.
Look, my local news, because I'm 2 hours away.
Okay, we lost Dallas again. All right, so let's get to what the U.S. Marshals are saying.
You are looking at new video of the search effort in southern Idaho near the Sawtooth National Forest, where a tip came in that a family believed they saw Travis Decker.
I'm such an idiot. I keep calling it sawdust. Sawtooth. 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 Are you back, dude?
Yep, I'm where it originally happened. I'm 2 hours away, like probably 2.5 hours away from Wenatchee. Because I've been in that area, and it's mostly apple farms over in that area.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Now, were people in your area kind of scared that there's a mass murderer on the loose?
Not that I read, but I just knew that somebody, that there was a killer on the loose. Because I know for a while they had, where the girls were found, they had it closed off for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was closed off, and now he's in Idaho.
What I think he did was he doubled back, go up north, and then probably crossed the border to avoid major cities.
Yeah, I mean, what I always wonder is, I mean, if you're on the run, would you rather like be out in the woods or hide in plain sight where people don't pay attention? Because I mean, Seattle's a big city. I've never been in that predicament, so I can't speak on it.
Yeah, if he went Seattle way, what we'd have to do was take I-5 down into Oregon and go east to get into Idaho. So I think he went east through Washington to get to Idaho, then went down.
Well, perfect place for him to hide is Las Vegas. Wouldn't be hard to hitch a ride to go down there now, would it?
No.
Okay, this is what the U.S. Marshals are saying.
Authorities have been searching for the man accused of killing his 3 young daughters in Washington for more than a month now. Up with Krem's Tim Pham spoke exclusively with the U.S. Marshal Service about why they believe this tip is the most credible lead yet.
I want to jump right in. What's the latest on the search for Travis Decker?
Our task force is still actively hunting for him down in the Bear Creek area with all our partners and all the agencies that have come to assist, like the U.S. Forest Service, Kansas County, Sheriff's Office. We have task force partners with Ada County, U.S. Customs, Border Patrol.
You have probably received hundreds of tips, if not more. What made this latest tip over the weekend credible enough to put out this new information?
The tip that we received was pretty compelling. It was a busy holiday weekend, of course, and the tipster observed a man on an ATV trail who fit the description of Decker. He was a bit out of place. It was described that he didn't have hiking boots. He was avoiding eye contact, and he was on a ATV UTV trail that usually isn't trafficked by hikers. And then the tattoos that the tipster described was pretty accurate. The unique design.
All right. So, I mean, they have seen him. And there's another woman that saw him. Now, how far does he really think he's going to get? And do you hike very often, Dallas?
No, it's been a long time.
So my question is, how's he keeping himself alive? I'm sure there's plenty of water around. Somebody on these hiking trails will hand you a bottle of water. What could he be eating?
Probably living off the land.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like fishing and stuff like that. He's probably eating off the land.
Okay. Yeah, there's no DoorDash out there, correct? Well, I mean, he left everything behind. So, this time of year, do you guys have like a lot of raspberries, blackberries, things like that out in the woods?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So like you said, living off the land, fishing, things like that. All right.
Of his tattoos, and then even the locations were pretty accurate. And then our investigators later, the next day or two, also interviewed other campers in the area who described a similar looking individual.
Hold on. My 3 sons said, Brooks, I graduated from high school with his father's fiance. His father has a fiance? Now, where do they live? Because I heard that the father was cooperating with law enforcement. Where do they live now? I think I heard, let me think, Iowa. And that he has actually been in Washington helping law enforcement.
Other campers in the area who described a similar looking individual.
When you receive a tip like that, and in a case like this that has seen so much exposure, how do you know that, the tipster didn't see those tattoos maybe on TV or on the internet?
Those are the questions we typically ask, and we like to, we try to vet them as best as possible so we know how to allocate our resources. But at the end of the day, we can't leave any stones unturned, so to speak. And so, based on the multiple sightings, we believe this is a good chance it could be Decker. And in this situation, the tipster confirmed they did not see those tattoos ahead of time prior to reporting the tip to us.
Do you have any idea of how Travis Decker could have gotten more than 500 miles away all the way to, the Sawtooth area?
We have no reason to believe that someone's working with him at this time, but that's kind of one of the answers that we were still searching for.
In the most recent statement, though, there was a warning to people in the...
All right, how long is he going to be able to stay out? Okay, I understand it's July now. When does it start getting super cold and rainy and snowy in the Pacific Northwest? I don't live there, so I don't know. How long can he possibly stay out? Got to give it to the guy. He has stayed under the radar for quite a while. Kimberly, man, what are you doing? Gift and Crime Lines and Lies memberships? Today's your birthday. We should be doing things for you. Okay, I'm going to go back to this. I got very confused because the U.S. Marshal and the news anchor look alike. And I was like, hold on. How's this guy changing his outfit so quick? Yeah, look at this. See? You see this guy, and then you see the U.S. Marshal. Freaked me out when I heard two different voices.
How Travis Decker could have gotten more than 500 miles away all the way to, the Sawtooth area?
We have no reason to believe that someone's working with him at this time, but that's kind of one of the answers that we were still searching for.
In the most recent statement, though, there was a warning to people in the area to make sure that their campers are locked and not to pick up any hitchhikers, and that Travis Decker is a known hitchhiker. That seems to be new information. Tell us more about why that was put out.
I can't speak to that. I will find out where that came from. But, just as a general caution, we just urge people right now just to be vigilant and take precautions and not pick people up and engage with anybody that they suspect could be, Decker or, just a strange individual in that area.
The U.S. Marshals Service is offering a $20,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of Travis Decker. You can submit tips to that number right there at the bottom of your screen.
Well, little did they know, there was no number at the bottom of the screen. And you really shouldn't pick up hitchhikers anyway. But a woman in Caldwell also saw him
Monday in the Sawtooth National Forest as law enforcement followed up on two separate sightings of a man who matched the description of Travis Decker hiking near Bear Creek. A Caldwell woman whose family has a cabin outside of Idaho City may have been the first person to see Decker in Idaho. Jennifer Rice just left Gentry's outpost in Idaho City on June 18th when she spotted something she thought was unusual.
Practically walking up to that center was just a random gentleman, but he caught my eye because he seemed out of place.
Why did he catch your eye, and why did he seem out of place?
He had a bedding roll that you would sleep on, but there was no sleeping bag. And so I thought, well, what is he going to do with that? And his backpack wasn't big enough to have been stuffed with a sleeping bag. And so it just didn't make sense. Are you sleeping or are you not sleeping?
Rice had heard of the story of Travis Decker, a suspect wanted for the homicide and kidnapping of his three daughters, who were 5, 8, and 9 years old in Washington state in June. So she first called authorities in Washington.
They listened to me, but that didn't seem to, if I remember correctly, the comment was, we know where he is and we know what's happening, but we'll write this down.
Rice was frustrated, Even her husband doubted anyone could make it from central Washington to Idaho City without being seen. Fast forward to late last night, Monday, July 7th. Rice got up to let her dog outside, looked at her phone, and saw the reports that Decker may have been seen in the Sawtooth National Forest.
They saw him in Idaho?
Tuesday morning, she sent Idaho News 6 an email. I asked her to come by because I wanted to hear her story. I then sent an email to the U.S. Marshal's office asking if they were still interested in tips on their 1-800 number. Moments before she arrived, this happened.
But then I didn't hear anything, and I was coming to talk to you, and my phone rang on the way over here, and a gal from the U.S. Marshal's office, she wanted to get more information. So I got excited after she told me who she was, and I was like, hold on, I've got to pull over, because I was just so happy someone was listening.
And what did she say specifically? How credible your information was? What did she say?
Well, she let me tell my whole story. And then she said, wow, that's pretty good. This is probably the most detail we've received so far.
Okay, so he's walking around with a bedroll and a backpack, no sleeping bag. So he's bumming. That's what he's doing. He's bumming. That's it. He's just finding places, probably doing his walking at night and hiding out during the day is what it seems to me. They have used heat-seeking drones, helicopters, canine dogs, you name it. And this, in my opinion, is 100% planned. Okay? It has gone on for way too long. And I'm just very happy that the authorities have not given up on this. Now, I know they say he's, what's the word? His elevator doesn't go all the way to the top, as is reported. He's a couple of tacos short of a Mexican platter, okay? Either way, what has been done to these little girls and their mama, his parents, Whitney's parents, is inexcusable. Inexcusable. And I do not blame the girl's mama, Whitney, for saying she doesn't care, just find him. She doesn't care if he goes to jail for the rest of his life or gets the death penalty. Dead or alive, find him. Because you know she has to be looking over her shoulder all the time. She's got to be scared to death. Scared to death.
Cannot and will not stop looking for the father that they think murdered his 3 young daughters and took off into the woods over 3 weeks ago. But just because Travis Decker hasn't been caught doesn't mean he's still on the run. It could also mean that Travis Decker is dead. And by the looks of the way the search teams shifted their tactics, it is starting to look that way. In a Facebook post on Tuesday, County Sheriff said, and I quote, "There is no certain evidence that Decker remains alive or in this area." And if that's not black and white enough, authorities have now added cadaver dogs to the search teams. In the meantime, the mother of those 3 beautiful little girls who were bound at the wrists and suffocated, she spoke this week at a public memorial. Whitney Decker had been required by the court to let her ex take their daughters for a daytime visit, a visit from which they did not return. Here's Whitney memorializing Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia.
Now, I know some people in little crooks and crannies of the internet are saying, well, she shouldn't have let him go. Well, she shouldn't have let him go. These are the same people that spoke against Brianna Mikolo. That said, well, she shouldn't have let Corey go. Shouldn't have let Corey go. You can't be a good parent when you're in jail. You can't take care of your kids if you defy a court order and you're no longer allowed to see your children. It's truth. There has to be some happy medium. As much as the way she protested, and I don't mean standing on the corner looking like a dumbass holding a sign. I'm saying as much as she protested, at the end of the day, what was she supposed to do? She really expected him to bring the girls right back. And it turned into another hour, another hour, another hour. And well, we know what happened to the girls. And she said she wants him found, dead or alive. Good morning, Shonda.
At night, during their bedtime routine, they would ask him what 3 feelings they felt during that day. No feeling too big or too small, and what was going on when they felt those feelings. For Peyton, she always had more than 3, consistently eager to tell me about every minute of her day. She was always interrupting her sisters to make sure I knew every single one. For Ev, we would talk about her feelings one-on-one, right at bedtime, because she wasn't always ready to share them with her sisters. And for Olivia, we were still working on how to describe all of her feelings, but beyond a shadow of a doubt, one was always happy. Even when I tried to avoid telling my feelings, which is so easy to do as an adult, I feel like, the girls, one of them would always say, "Wait, Mom, you didn't tell me what yours were," and make sure that I too would tell them what my 3 feelings were. I'm so thankful for the time that I had with the girls, and that the 3 feelings allowed us to connect when the world slowed down.
I am joined now by Ariana Cozart. She's Whitney Decker's attorney. That is so hard to watch, Ariana. How is Whitney holding up?
She's holding up okay. I think better than anyone could ever be expected to hold up under this situation. She is surrounded by friends and very strong family support, as well as family support by Travis's family. And she's just trying to cherish the memories of her babies and do what she can to advocate for change while this is still really difficult, obviously, for all of us.
Ariana, I cannot even imagine what Whitney wants to see as an outcome. What does justice look like in this search for Travis?
That he's found, dead or alive. That's a huge thing that she wants. It's very, very important to her, so that she can have peace. That's probably number one. Number two is she doesn't ever want this situation to occur again when it can be avoided. She doesn't want the veterans out there to have to go through what Travis went through. Their resources are being taken away every day, including some of the resources that Travis had available to him. Those are being taken away next week. And also the Amber Alert system that could have possibly saved those girls had it been enacted at the time of their disappearance.
I see where she's coming from. And anytime a child is missing, people scream from the rooftops, Amber Alert, Amber Alert, Amber Alert, Amber Alert, Amber Alert. 9.9 times out of 10, when a child is missing and someone realizes that they're missing, in situations like this, and Washington has a very strict criteria. They do. Because you don't want to, I'm not saying it's my criteria. I'm not saying I agree with it. But they weren't out at the mall, okay? They weren't at the local grocery store. We need some common sense here. By the time that Whitney realized that he wasn't bringing them back, they had already been murdered. Okay? I hate to say that. It's the truth. That's the truth. It's horrible. It's horrible to even think about. And this whole thing that the VA failed him, the VA did this. When are people going to quit being victims and take accountability? When is that going to happen? He's a grown man. When they said, listen, dude, you got a problem. You're going to take this medication. And I'll see you in 6 weeks. If it's not setting well on your belly or you feel foggy, call us. When are criminals going to be held to the highest of accountability instead of people petting heads going, oh, this system failed or that? It's a real sad day anywhere. Anywhere. When people expect the government to make sure adults do what they're supposed to do. We hear it all the time. CPS failed, CPS failed, CPS failed. Well, okay. Well, what about the people that failed the children in the first place? Come on. But this is nuts.
She wants to be able to save other people's babies, even though she can't save her own.
Can I ask you, Ariana, if you mentioned she wants Travis to be found dead or alive? Is there one of those versions that she prefers?
I don't think she's able to think that far ahead, because either way, it's hard, right? I think that she knows that if he is found alive, he'll never be able to answer the questions that she might have to a point where it would give her any peace. I think that her main focus is just that he's found, one way or the other.
Any idea what the motive was at this point?
I think that the motive was Travis had severe mental health issues, more severe than anyone knew. And I mean, what possible motive could there be, right, for killing your babies? I just don't think
you're right. Ariana Kozart, thank you for being on. Please give our best well wishes.
Anyone ever had a bad day? Horrible breakup? Loss in your family? Bout of depression? Overly anxious? Do you think anyone, when life happens, is going to blame a government agency instead of saying, nah, you're a big boy. You're a big girl. Okay? Accountability starts with the chair you're sitting in. We don't just get to go and kill people. We don't get to hog tie little children to get back at an ex that had been fighting with you for years to get your ass in line. So the people that are actually sympathizing with him and want to blame the army are insane. Good God. Hell, there's an ER on every damn corner. Even where I live. In bumfuck Oklahoma. Go to the damn ER. So sick of that shit. These people going left and right saying, oh, this one failed, that one failed. Since when do adults need a babysitter? Good God. How does that even happen?
All right, there are possible new tips tonight in the manhunt for that accused child killer, Travis Decker. Authorities are now focusing on Idaho's Sawtooth National Forest. A family of campers reported seeing a man who looked like Decker last week in the Bear Creek area of the massive forest. Police also released these 3 different looks of Decker with varying hair lengths and facial hair to aid in the search for the fugitive father. Decker's been on the run now from authorities for more than a month. He is wanted in the brutal murders of his 3 daughters, all found dead in a Washington state campsite in May. The girls had been on a scheduled visit with Decker when they went missing and he disappeared. Now, this new sighting of Decker, possibly in Idaho, is more than 500 miles from where the girls' bodies were found. Authorities say it's possible that Decker, who is a skilled outdoorsman, hitchhiked to the remote area, which covers more than 2 million acres. It also re-energizes the search for the fugitive, many were wondering if he was even still alive. For more on the manhunt, we're joined by Art Roderick. He's a former U.S. Marshal, very experienced in these kinds of things. Art, what are authorities doing now when they get a tip that's 500 miles from the...
Let's see. My 3 sons. Is there a link to come up? Yep, I just put it in the chat, baby. It's right there. If you didn't see it, I'll put it up again. Oh, he's off the grid. He's off the grid. You're not going to convince me, well, until new evidence comes out, that he did not plan this, that he did not have things in line for a long time to make sure he would not be found for a long time. Oh, we got my 3 sons is backstage. Hey, Kelly, welcome.
Hi.
What
I
are
love
you?
your show.
Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you so much. What are you thinking about all this?
Well, the mental health part.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that people are sympathetic to him by any means, but mental health is like when you said, do you ever have a bad day where, a breakup, a loss? How do I turn off my camera so you don't have to see my face?
Oh, you're beautiful. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So, yeah, those happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we get over it. We jump up, we go, da, da, da. But like in his case, and my fiance that killed himself, I shouldn't say that. Sorry, unalived. Some people's mental health doesn't go away.
Does that give them an excuse to murder their 3
No,
girls?
by no means. Now, I don't understand that.
Okay.
But I understand where you don't want to live anymore. I don't understand mothers unaliving their children, fathers doing the same thing, or school shootings and, all that. We probably can't say shooting either.
Well, that's fine. We understand it. But what's the solution? Put everybody on Prozac? Have people go to the door and give them a hug? I don't know.
Exactly. There's really, back in the day, like my mom said in the 50s, they put people in you had no say for that matter either, but they would put you in
Oh, lost Kelly. What's going on? Okay, she's reconnecting.
The scene of the crime.
Well, every single tip has got to be investigated, but when I've worked cases in this particular area, And I'll tell you that every single lead will be worked out. And what you do as an investigator is you look for actionable leads. So this lead looks pretty good, but there has not been 100% confirmation of him anywhere after this particular crime was committed. So that's the key part of investigating individuals like that, is try to get as close as you can. So if we could get them a couple days behind, then we know we're in the right area here.
Right.
And the marshal will continue to investigate this particular case.
How do they figure out, Art, how do they figure out if this family really saw Decker or not?
Well, they have a pretty good DNA sample from them, so if they can possibly find some way to get DNA. Otherwise, it's almost impossible to 100% confirm this.
My 3 sons, Kelly, I put the link back in because I lost you backstage. I'm sorry for that.
Individual. Now, I know that this individual is the person you're looking for. Now, I know a lot of times when you get these tips in, if you start getting a cluster of them, then you know you're onto something.
Right.
You can confirm that it's 100% that it is him, and you start catching up on that timeline.
And there's word he might have hitchhiked. Obviously, he didn't walk 500 miles in a month. That would mean people are picking him up. Maybe we haven't gotten the word out enough that he's wanted for this triple murder.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case here.
Yeah, I don't think he walked 500 miles in a month either. 11 miles to the Canadian border makes more sense. So, Kelly, do you think someone is helping him out, or do you think he's just been hitching rides?
I'm not sure. I'm the one who said I know his father's fiance, and I went to school with her. I've ran into her here and there, and we've talked, but I haven't talked to her at all since this happened. I tried to contact her on Facebook. I got a hold of her cousin, and I went to school with her too. She is just beside herself. I'm sure the father is, going through hell, as well as, it was his grandchildren.
Yes.
And he is cooperating. I know that from the cousin. So.
Well, law enforcement has said it, that, he flew out to Washington and he told him, about his son's survivalist skills, the caches he'll leave in the woods and things like that. The U.S. Marshals are saying that they have no evidence that anyone is helping him, cooperating with him, so it could be something just as, and I don't say he's innocent, allegedly, him just sticking a thumb out saying, hey, where are you going? All right, yeah, take me there.
Yeah, exactly. And people might not recognize him. Not all of us crazy people watching YouTube and watching crime shows. Not everyone does. I can't imagine why, but I'm on the lookout. I'm in Minnesota, so I'm always looking for different, faces. I work in the public, and it's horrible. I'm 57 now. So I was pregnant with my 3rd son when Susan Smith did her horrible situation. And back then I was, of course I was pregnant. So I was going through, emotions with all the hormones, and I was scared. It scared me. Well, I believed in her at first, and I don't want to get on a different topic, but it's a whole mental health thing. And with mental health, I don't know if you know it, addictions, people that are addicts, and you can't get them off, or you can't help them. You get to a point where you just don't want to be around them. Doesn't matter if it's your children. It doesn't matter if it's, a loved one. You can't handle, some people enable them, and some people, will enable, and then come to their senses and say, what are we doing? And it's the same thing with mental health. I'm sure that father of this man, and I don't know, but I am assuming that he was like beside himself. Like, what the hell are you doing? Probably not seeing him, not, trying to stay away because of the mental health. Mental health is horrible. And that isn't the way to be, but people are scared. I was afraid of my fiance. I didn't know what he was going to do. And then he ended up taking his own life,
That's horrible. I'm so sorry for that.
And that was in 2020, the end in November of 2020, so it was when everything was going bad. But I fell in love with his manic. I did, but I didn't know what it was until we were in a relationship. You know what I mean? And that's when they're happy. For some, obviously. That's what they want to be. They want to be this happy person. Because when they come down, like bipolar, you come down, you get depressed, you don't want to be here anymore. And you think some people can, remember what they did to people. I mean, his mother had to evict him from her home because he wouldn't leave. And he was 55 years old.
Well, I couldn't imagine living with my mom at 55. I couldn't imagine. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor. I guess, psychiatrist is a doctor.
Exactly.
I'm not a pharmacist. I just don't know when people that have a health problem. I mean, if someone has high blood pressure, they take medicine. If someone has diabetes, they take medication.
Exactly.
If
The problem is with mental or this severe of mental health, like bipolar, when they're in a manic stage, depending on, what type of manic it is, they're on top of the world. They can't do no wrong. They're loving life almost. You know what I mean? They're not depressed. So they're doing bad things, spending money. And my fiance was a workaholic, but he got in trouble. It's a long story, but in 2009, he's an alcoholic, and he ended up getting his fourth DWI. And the fourth DWI, he ended up unaliving a 17-year-old boy. And he went to prison. And when he got out, he couldn't get over the fact of what he did. And I mean, he was always had mental health issues, even before prison, obviously. And he self-medicated with, alcohol. And
I haven't seen anything with Travis Decker that he used any sort of drug. I haven't seen anything. Basically, what Whitney has said is that he had some imbalance, something going on.
Yep.
And I just don't. I mean, what's anyone supposed to do for him? If he doesn't go to his doctor's appointments, what's he supposed to do?
And that's the thing. They don't go to their doctor appointments. They don't do anything. They don't think there's anything wrong with them when they're in this horrific. I mean, it is not just mental health. It's beyond that. It's beyond that. And I'm not bipolar. I've went through depression where I didn't want to live anymore back when my kids were, 4, 6, and 8. And I got help and I got out of it. I'm so thankful. If I would rather have cancer. to go through that again. And that was not even nowhere near. I mean, bipolar, schizophrenia, all of them. I mean, I don't give this guy any. They need to catch him, dead or alive. I mean, and like I'm saying, there is nothing. But it has nothing to do with the government. I mean, that's kind of what I was going to say. But there is no help because they can't help themselves. They're in control of their lives. But
I think when it comes to any disease,
definitely,
it's not cookie cutter. That's the reason we have doctors and specialists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's how it is. And that's why it's so sensitive when you're dealing with the human brain. When they say, I need to see you back in 3 weeks, or I need to see you back in 6 weeks. If they don't want to comply and they like the way they're living, what is anyone supposed to do? Are we supposed to lock people up and
Exactly.
say, oh no, you're going to be in a rubber room?
And that's what they used to do back in the 50s. They used to lock them up. My grandmother was in I don't want to get on a long story. I know you have a show, but my grandmother was in an orphanage because I found out later after she passed away that her stepfather essayed her. And her mother, my great grandmother, her kids got taken away from her and they put them in an orphanage. And I think my great grandma Jenny went into a nut house or whatever, rubber room. So I think that's, back then they used to do that. But today, if we had enough help for it and money, and to make sure that no one is like going, hey, I was talking to Brooks the other day and she's sounding a little off. Maybe you should come get her. And I think that's what ended up happening back then. So they put a stop to that, our freedom.
I think it goes back to this. I mean, okay, with Travis Decker.
Ugh. Yeah.
All right. So when Whitney divorced him last year,
yeah,
he no longer had, I would call his human crush. Okay.
Yes.
Because Whitney did not want that craziness. I shouldn't say it that way. That instability around the girls.
Definitely.
And so he went down from there. And they went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth about the girls. And some people say he just snapped, but everything seems very premeditated.
And it definitely could be. There's no explanation for that. As much as I know about mental health and know of people, not like him, but like him. I mean, I didn't know what Todd was going to do, my fiance. I didn't know if he was going to unalive himself and maybe take me with. We had issues through our relationship where I've had to, end up calling authorities on him. He never hit me. The sad part is I feel like he was the most amazing person in the world, and he was. He had a heart of gold. His real self. I couldn't live with it. I could not be around it. Thankfully, I wasn't there when it happened. Were we still talking? Were we still together? Yes. But I was staying at my sister's house because I couldn't live with it. And that's probably how I'm sorry. I'm so bad. What was her name? Oh, his ex-wife, the mom, was with him. And I can't imagine having 3 beautiful children with this man that you are not sure of.
Well, and my question is, Medicaid definitely pays for mental health coverage. The
Yep.
VA does. I know our insurance, Cigna, does. It just goes through your primary care physician. So if adults won't comply with their medication, then what are we supposed to do?
Exactly. And that's where the problem is. Because when their mental health is so bad, no one's going to tell them what to do. I mean, I don't know this man. You need help. You need help. I'm going through this right now, Brooks, with my granddaughter. Her mother.
You have a 15-minute visit with your doctor.
That's all it takes.
And anyone can walk and be good for 15 minutes. Like they seem fine to me.
Brooks, I'm going through this right now with my granddaughter's mother.
Mm-hmm.
She's living with me. She's 16 years old, and her mother is in this beyond help with religion. And I'm not putting religion down by any means, but she thinks she's actually married to someone, truly, and she thinks she is married through Jesus Christ to a man she saw at church.
Mm-hmm.
And they're together in the name of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And she told her oldest daughter that she would never divorce him. She would red rum him before she divorced him.
Okay, so that's I would just call that a fucking lunatic.
Exactly. And I don't know what to do. This is my son's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And my granddaughter loves her. I mean, I know she knows she's cray cray. I'm trying to not say words, so I'm not meaning to be.
No, you're fine. That's when the police do a well check visit, and if someone comes to the door and they say, "Hey, I'm married to Jesus," they go give them a 72-hour evaluation. Like in Oklahoma, we have what's called Wagner Mental Health, and from there, 72 hours won't cure them. They go somewhere else.
Exactly. Something needs to be done. And my son, he's 34, he'll be 35, and his daughter's 15 or 16. And she lives with us. I live with my son. And her mother kicked her out at 15. And I know why now. Because she's doing things that she shouldn't be doing. And I'm not talking rugs. I'm talking sex stuff,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with other, and that's another side effect of mental health. I don't know if you know that. They become overly, can we say that word?
Like whatever you want. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
I'm just worried about YouTube stuff. Okay. They become overly sexed. I'm not a therapist. I don't know nothing about nothing. I just know what I've been through and what I've seen. Okay. And they become overly sexed. She's been in, years ago, this happened in 2017. She said Satan was in her. She had ended up losing tons of weight, and I'm sure she was doing things. And her husband is a religious person too, so he won't leave her because he loves her. But she was bringing random men home. I mean, It is bad. It is bad. And now she's doing this again. It's mental health. And I'm just worried about my granddaughter. I asked her the other day because she came home and from her mom's, and I said, you know, I know that your mom's going through a lot of stuff, and she gets very defensive because we have a history from her from when my granddaughter was a baby. I didn't get to see her for 2 years because they were nuts, wackos. And now, you know, I'm like, I'm worried about your mother. I'm trying to be, you know, nice. I am worried. I'm not really worried about her. I'm worried about my granddaughter's mental health. She's already been ran through, you know, being kicked out of her high school. We've been doing online school. She's going to go to public school this next year. She's going to be a junior. And
Well, I don't agree with these. I don't agree with these online schools. I think people need to show up.
The only reason we did that is because, you know, she left in the beginning of the school year, and you know, she from a different town, coming to a different town. So we really felt for her. She was homeschooled from the time she was in 5th grade, and her mother told her she could go to school finally in 9th grade.
Well, I'm not smart enough to homeschool. Okay, listen.
Neither was she. She didn't graduate from high school.
I can help my kids with homework up until they were about in like 4th grade. Then I'm like, what are they doing? So back to Travis Decker.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, baby. What could have been done differently?
Obviously, we can't go back. But I would hope, I know the mother had no choice but to let him see his kids. I wish they would have been supervised. I wish with all my heart.
The supervision had ended because he was on his best behavior. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Makes me so sick.
Makes me sick too, baby. Makes me sick too. And now the state of Idaho has to deal with that.
Yeah.
I've been in local and federal law enforcement for almost 40 years, and lately these major cases around the country are just piling up, and some are getting more press than others. Hopefully this information will get out there. And I know the marshals have an 877 wanted to number, and if you call that or you go on the U.S. Marshals .gov website and leave leads, they're looking for more leads. They need to confirm 100% that they have a visual on this individual at some point in time so they can get closer and closer to him.
Well, and clearly we're reporting on this. I'm sure authorities would want anybody who picked up a hitchhiker between those two spots to call in and report that they in fact did that. Finally, very quickly, he's a vet. He apparently was having some mental health issues, according to his ex-wife. How does his Army training play when it comes to surviving out there in the wilderness?
Yeah, it's big time. I've seen reports that he's a trained Army Ranger, so obviously that's going to weigh into a lot of it. I know the U.S. Marshals Special Operations Group and is responding and on the ground up there. That most of those individuals.
Hey, Avery, what's up?
Hey, I wanted to come up and talk about him just a little bit.
Yeah, please.
So I get frustrated easily, you know, when I hear people talking about mental health. So complex PTSD and PTSD are very, very, very different. And not only did he have complex PTSD, but he also had or has borderline personality disorder. And I can see where they ran into roadblocks because with TRICARE, which is his insurance, you can go to the emergency room. They can do a 72-hour hold on you, but they're going to refer you out to a psychiatrist. In order to get to that psychiatrist, TRICARE is going to want you to see their people that are on on their platform before referring you out.
Now, where are
And
we hearing about PTSD and the complex PTSD? Because all Whitney has said is that he was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and he refused to take his medication. And I can only rely on what Whitney has said.
yeah, it was in some articles, and I think she said he was diagnosed with those when he transitioned out of the Army into the National Guard. And so when he was in the service, I am assuming he was getting treatment, but it definitely said CP, complex PTSD, and the borderline personality disorder. I mean, I've seen that several places, but he would require. He not only would he require medication, he would go immediately on most likely Zoloft and Paxil at high dosages, but he would need psychotherapy, and he would need cognitive behavioral therapy. He would need inpatient treatment. And we have studied scans of the brain, and people, even just with PTSD, the cellular aging that it does to your prefrontal cortex.
Now, hold on. Where are you getting?
I mean,
are you a psychiatrist?
I'm a psychologist.
Okay. Oh, so you can't prescribe medicine?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm just getting like the short and curlies of what Whitney said, and basically what she said was he refused to take his medication. So what do you do with someone that does not take their medication?
Well, I mean, and I know that that's going to happen, but so his work.
So what do you do? What do you do?
Well, he was trying to get back in. His employer said that Friday he spent the entire day at work calling the VA crisis line. So, I mean, he was, from what I understand, he was in a crisis that day, and he was trying to get help and trying to get back in. I mean, there's really not a whole lot you can do. If you're married to them in some states and they stop taking their medication, you can go down to probate and you can have them committed. I mean, I don't know what exactly what they're.
In this case, it's a lot of woulda, shoulda, coulda, and the only person that woulda, coulda, shoulda is Travis.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say it. It's the truth. He had more resources than I could ever get. I mean, between TRICARE, private insurance, and Medicaid, and a loving family, what else is supposed to happen? A wife that loves him very much.
Yeah.
Or that would be there for him anytime. What do you do when someone just doesn't want to take care of themselves?
Right. Well, and like your other guest was saying, if, you know, a lot of times patients get onto medication, they get to feeling good. The medication's working, they're feeling good, and they think they're cured, and they stop taking it. I mean, that's just, a downside to it. But I really do believe that he was in a crisis, and I think that he psychologically snapped.
But he had to have planned this. How long?
I don't know, because if he's walking around and
some common sense, how long could you be in the woods and set up a cache of, I'll just say, food, water, orange juice, whatever, and have your route picked out? If I went wandering right now, I might make it till 10:30 my time right now, 10:37. Hell, I might make it till 2 in the afternoon. Okay, so he has a lot of military training. Not want to take his medication, as far as Whitney is saying. No one can force him to take it because he's a grown man. So what's the answer?
I mean, aside from, a spouse or a parent, going and signing the paperwork to have them committed, there's not much else you can do.
Well, she tried that. And like I said, you can walk the walk, you know, and you can sit there with your doctors and say, oh, no, I'm feeling good. I'm doing good. I've been taking them. They'll do pill counts and everything. Oh, look at this. I mean, sometimes, you know, I mean, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I took all of them. I have an empty bottle. And they've been flushing down the toilet. What do you do?
Yeah. I'm not trying to like defend him or excuse his actions or anything like that. But I just feel like, you know, that last week when he was reaching out to the VA to seek help, I just wish they could have got him in.
But now, who said that he was reaching out to the VA? Because Whitney didn't say that.
His employer said that Friday he spent the entire day at work calling the VA crisis line.
What employer? He hadn't worked for weeks before.
It's in a newspaper article. He was working. I don't remember the name of it, but it's in an article.
So you're telling me his employer, instead of him working, watched him on the phone all day calling the VA crisis line, and nobody picked up their own phone and called 911.
Yep. Yeah, that's what
he's calling the VA crisis line, and no one said, hey, buddy, I'll call 911 right now.
Yeah, exactly.
According to Whitney, he was unemployed.
I don't know. This is the article that was in one of the newspapers about, I think I don't know. I think he may have been like part-time, or I'm not real sure.
Well, what article? I mean, where's it at? I mean, I really need to see this.
Just try Googling Travis Decker calling VA crisis center from work and see if it pulls up, because I don't remember exactly which one it was.
No, I'm not playing the Google games. I'm not doing that. I'm just not, because they put things up and they take them down. You know as much as I do. Okay.
No, and they had just been in court in September, and he told the judge, the change in his
that was September
income. Yeah,
that was September, and he murdered his children.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just know if he was reaching out to the VA for help. I just wish that they could have got him in. But the things that he's diagnosed with are very complicated.
But the only diagnosis that we know of is what his ex-wife has said, that he was diagnosed with bipolar and that he refused to take his medication. So why is it everyone else's fault?
See, I've never even heard bipolar.
Well, these are well-known. These are well-known statements of Whitney's. She's been on, her lawyer has been all over News Nation and other places.
Yeah, I've listened to a few of her lawyer's statements, but I have not heard bipolar. I've heard of the complex PTSD and the borderline personality disorder, which those two usually do go hand in hand. But if bipolar is in there too, then that's, I just wish that he could have gotten some help before this happened.
Well, I would think so. Yeah. And the sad fact of the matter is he had a lot of help, but he didn't want it. That's the sad fact of the matter is. That's the sad fact of the matter.
Let me see if I can find these articles.
I don't
I'll email them to you.
Uh-oh, Kelly muted herself.
Hi, sorry, I'm still here.
No, you're okay, hon. I just want to know who is to blame when somebody doesn't want to comply with their doctors. That's all I'm asking.
I don't want to blame anyone because, it is so difficult. Mental health is so difficult because you don't have a say in your loved one's situation. I mean, the mother really didn't. You know, she knew there was something wrong, but I'm sure in her heart of hearts, she never thought for 1 minute that he would do something like that.
Right.
No, she didn't. Now I'm gonna
wouldn't.
ask everyone in chat. I want everyone to close your eyes. Close your eyes. Please close your eyes and just think for a minute. Instead of jumping into the internet or worrying about articles, if someone is mentally ill and they kill your whole family, would you blame it on a disease or on their actions?
You want me to answer?
Anyone.
You know, I'm not in that situation, so it's
I'm not
really-
a very forgiving person.
Me either.
I'm not a forgiving person. I'm not going to sit there and say, "Oh my gosh, you know, you killed my child. You killed my child, and now look what we're doing." Uh-oh.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Now she's got a lot of background noise. I mean, who would do that? Who would do that? Hey, Angel, are you there?
I'm there, girl. What's going on?
Oh, nothing. Just talking about Travis Decker. He's in Idaho. Obviously, he's not that mentally ill because he knows how to get 500 miles away and knows how to live in the woods for the last month.
Correct.
I just found the article where her attorney said about the CPS, the complex PTSD, borderline personality disorder, and where Whitney said he'd been trying for 2 weeks before this happened to get mental health help. Did you want me to send that to you? That's from her lawyer.
Yeah, please do, because I need to know. You can put it in the private chat.
Okay.
Now, what about him being a non-compliant patient from October to March? What do you do about that? Maybe Angel can help us with this because she's a nurse.
Well, good morning, and sorry I'm late. I have been ill, and
baby, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
And that's why I just now showed up. You cannot make people take their medications. Okay, I've been a psychiatric nurse for over 40 years. So the first thing I'd like to say is, just because somebody has a mental illness does not mean they kill other people. Most people with mental illness harm themselves. Okay. However, this was pre-planned. This was something that he had thought about for whatever reason, because if he truly had bipolar disorder, you know, you can get psychotic when you have bipolar disorder. I can't imagine having a psychotic episode and having PTSD. Okay. Now, the fact of the matter is, in my opinion, we all know that the services that we have in this country for mental health are really bad. There's not enough help. There's not enough beds. There's not enough facilities. Some of the state facilities were closed. Does that take away personal accountability? Not in my opinion. Okay. If you did it, you did it. I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to be harsh, but you have to have self accountability. Okay. There was a terrible result of him deciding not to take his medications. Unless someone is supervised 24/7, you can't make someone do what they don't want to do. Patients have a right to refuse medication. If they're dancing out in the streets naked and somebody calls on them, they still can't be made to take their medication. Now, in some places, they can be committed for 3 days, for 72 hours. Then they can have medications forced on them in some situations if a judge orders that. But it doesn't take away their responsibility for what they have done. That's probably very controversial to people because I'm very strong opinion. opinionated.
So let me
And
ask you this, because I mean, you have worked with patients. I mean, you have worked with them. Okay, I'm just
yes,
going to put
ma'am.
that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let me ask you a question. Do you think what Whitney was told by Travis could have possibly been a lie?
Sure. Sure. I'm not trying to be ugly, but I'm saying if you're desperate and you want to see your children or you want to do something and you know that's what that person wants you to do, you may be saying that. You may say that just to make them feel at ease or to make them feel better to go along. Um, just because somebody has mental illness also doesn't mean they're not manipulative. Okay. So there's all different ways of looking at it. I think it's horrible that, okay, let me start over. Are there a lot of veterans and people that have difficulty getting access to mental health services in America? You better believe there are. Are there people that do get services and fight and get their services? You better believe there are. But there's also nothing you can do when someone is over 18 years of age and they refuse to do what they've been told to do to be a stable, functioning person in the community. I think you remember what happened to Rick Warren's son. Rick Warren, the famous pastor. I just remember that him and his wife fought the system, fought in the courts, fought all different kinds of ways to get help for their son. Their son eventually unalived himself. And there was a big piece there for a while on the TV and on all these interviews about a lot of the trouble that families have getting resources and access to services for people with mental illness. However, I mean, you can't just have mental illness and walk around and do what you want to other people and not have any consequences for that. Did that make any sense?
Yep, that's what I'm talking about. That's what.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
Where's the accountability? Where's it at? I mean, we're not talking about somebody that has a chest cold and they're coughing. I mean, people know how to make themselves well.
Exactly.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. So think about it this way. If it's a loved one, I'm talking like your son. If anyone has sons out there. I mean, I don't know how I would feel. Because I'm not in that position. If he killed his children. How are we to feel? Monster? We know he has mental illness, let's say, of some sort. And he's not helping himself. He's not, following directions of the doctor, nurses. I can't imagine the field of all the doctors and nurses and like my fiance's, I think she was like a worker because my fiance was on a rural 30 plan in Minnesota because he was getting.
Did they call every day and make sure he was okay? This is my question for adults.
Yes, he had checkups.
Okay, he had checkups. Okay, so he got a reminder call saying you have an appointment tomorrow at say 10 o'clock, right?
And she would even come to the house.
Okay. Well, I mean, nobody comes to my house. I mean, no, unless
this is how bad he got because he was getting into legal trouble.
Oh, well, that's totally different. So let's rewind back to September of 2024, okay? When Travis Decker and Whitney divorced. And Whitney couldn't handle him because he wasn't taking his medication. He knew the difference between when he was taking it and when he was not. Her words, not mine. I totally believe that he told her that the VA was not helping him. I totally believe that. That's the reason she came out and started screaming and crying, saying the VA wouldn't help him. Okay, now I have children in the military, all right? Yes, they have TRICARE and it pays for everything. Dental, podiatry, the whole 9 yards. Maybe they got a better deal. I don't know. And if they don't go to VA hospitals. If they need to go to the hospital, they go to the hospital and they just bill that insurance. So maybe I'm the ignorant one here.
No, you're not, because I mean, you know, again, I'm going to go back to my root, which is if someone, you know, does some, okay, I'm just going to say it. Like like the scenario, the other lady, I can't see her name, that's up there, talked about having a son that did something like this. That would be the most horrific thing to have to deal with. But at any count, you have to protect the children. Why? Because children are dependent on us for their safety. The children have to come first. That's just me. That's my opinion. I think that's the way it should be.
Well,
you know, would you want anybody around your children? Take away let's pretend that was not their father. Pretend that was not, you know, their father. Pretend that was not her husband. If not for that, would they have been around the children? Okay, you can't have people that aren't stable for whatever reason being around innocent, dependent children. Period. That's just my opinion.
I agree. That's why what Whitney, you know, wanted, and it's the petition that I have her petition pulled up that she filed with the courts, and that's where she said, so I guess it was the Friday before she filed the petition is where his employer said he was calling the crisis center all day, but wasn't that what she was asking for, was supervised visitation?
Well, the supervised visitation better stop, because he had complied the way he was supposed to for many months. OJ, get down. So unsupervised had just started recently.
Well, that makes no sense.
And it says in this petition that she had him having counseling sessions with their pastor. Pastor starts with a I can't pronounce that name, starts with a G, because they were having problems getting him back into psychiatric care. I'm just reading through her petition that she filed.
Okay, True Crime Lullabies, and I love her. She's an amazing person. She says, I agree. Hold him accountable, but fix the issues. How can you fix an issue when a grown adult says there isn't one?
You can't. That's not how the laws are set up in this country, and especially in Tennessee. A long time ago in the 90s, we had a state facility called Lakeshore. And the geniuses above us, the geniuses above Richmond, they all decided, you know, that for whatever reasons, all the state facilities were going to be closed. There were people that were born in the state facilities, and I'm not kidding, born, that were put out into the community in group homes. Well, guess what? A group home is not secure. You can walk right out the door. There's no system in place, a great safeguard system in place to make people take their medicines unless you take them to court and you declare them incompetent, and then you have to have them committed somewhere. Unfortunately, in many states, there is nowhere to commit someone long-term involuntarily. Nowhere. There's nowhere in Tennessee. that I'm aware of now in East Tennessee that you can commit someone who has no business being out on the streets, not because they are mean, but because they are sick and they will not take their medication to be a functioning member of society.
Yeah, she's right. And that's why they can only do, like at the hospital, a 72-hour hold, because you start touching on breaking a person's constitutional rights. So there's only so much that they can do. In Alabama, we can, as a spouse, we can petition through the probate court, and the sheriff's department will go out and pick them up, and mental health will come in and evaluate them, and then the judge will decide on their recommendations whether to commit them into a hospital. Fortunately, here we do have, long term. If there's a bed available, they'll keep them there in the hospital until they can get a bed and move them over. But it's different state by state.
Well, is that just, are you talking about in your state that they'll just keep them for the mandatory 72 hours? Or are you talking about longer than that?
Yeah, longer. It'll
Okay.
depend on the recommendations made to the probate judge. So my ex-husband, he was in the Marine Corps, sort of not quite similar, as Travis Decker, but that's what I did. And I went down to the probate court, filled out the paperwork, petitioned him for commitment. Sheriff's department went out and picked him up, took him over to mental health, did an evaluation on him, and then we all met in the probate judge's office, and the judge signed the paperwork, and he went in. He did inpatient for 6 months and then outpatient for another 6 months. But if he were to not show up for the outpatient or test where the medication wasn't in his body, then they would have put him right back in and it would have been for a full year.
Well, that's great.
So, but I know not all states offer that.
No.
Unfortunately.
Mental illness is a lot more common than what people think. And there's a lot more people that struggle with that than what people are aware. People that have no experience or have never been around someone with mental illness tend to think of them as different than they are for whatever reason. There's a lot of stigmas. I won't get into that. But but there's also a lot of, I will say that throughout the years that the Veterans Administration has fallen short many, many ways as far as getting care to people. I've had patients with PTSD from coming back from Vietnam that absolutely had no resources or had this terribly long waiting list to get through, to get to care. And, God only knows what will happen until they get into care.
Well, the whole thing is, we're not talking about the Veterans Administration. We're not talking about government failures. We're talking about his failure.
Correct.
He killed his 3 children. And he had a father that loves him, an ex-wife that was there for him left and right. He decided not to comply with what he was supposed to do.
And therefore, he is self-accountable for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's a man down the street.
Let's get back to the girls, please.
Individuals, a former military, very well trained, and this terrain is very unique, very hard terrain to get around it, and also the weather is causing some issues with some of the equipment that they have up there, specifically like forward-looking infrared. When the temperatures are up in the 90s, there's a lot of things going on here. It's really going to probably come down to boots on the ground, just pounding that ground and getting him to show himself.
All right, Art Roderick from the U.S. Marshal Service, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
He had help. He refused it. I don't know. I don't live in their home. I don't live in their home. I know nothing about what they had going on as a couple, what he went through overseas. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. It seems like, this seems to be, he's been out there for a month. Now, as you said, Angel, if most people that are that mentally ill, they're going to harm themselves. But
Yes.
he's homicidal.
Yeah. Which, as we know, means you're dangerous to others. And if you're dangerous to others, you don't belong in society, roaming around free, doing as you please.
And since he refused to take his medication for whatever reasons, I don't know, maybe his pecker didn't work. Maybe he got a headache. Maybe he had a hard time peeing. Maybe he felt foggy. I don't know. Because he told Whitney that he was trying to get help. And Whitney's like, but you weren't taking your medication.
Mm-hmm.
You have to participate in your own care. You have to be your own healthcare advocate.
Correct. And unfortunately, there are people that are so sick and they refuse to take their medicine. And it's a sad situation. But that doesn't mean that they should be allowed to be around children. And I'm not trying to blame people, that they should be around other people when we really don't know what's going on in that head of theirs when they're in a psychotic episode. That's just my opinion.
No.
Yep, I agree. I got to go down. I got to get back to work. Thanks for having me up.
Oh, thank you, Avery. No one's going to disagree. It's a complex illness, but no doctor's going to come to your house and line out your pills for you and say, hey, make sure, you take some crackers with this and take it.
Right.
They're not going to take your rights away from you and say, hey, you have to be in the hospital so we can make sure you do it. It doesn't work that way. You don't want that type of illness. Nobody would want that. Could you imagine?
No.
Going nuts at the Walmart and all of a sudden you're in a mental institution saying, oh, you have to take this? Hell no.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I think Whitney, and I know there's a lot of flack on her right now. I think she did everything she could do. Everything.
Well, it certainly seems like it.
It seems that way to me. And, well, I tell you what, you wouldn't want to go to other countries and say you're mentally ill. Hell, shit, fire.
Exactly.
You'd be in a world of hurt. Damn, I can go to the ER right now and say I'm depressed. And I don't even know what the hell I'd walk out with. You
might not walk back out, girl. They might throw you in the hospital.
I know. Remember when I had that blood clot and my husband called and said, if she tries to leave, I want that 411 put on her. And
Absolutely.
they would do it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I would rather, I'll just go ahead and get this taken care of.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump up here and hijack your channel, or like take over what was going on. I'm really sorry that I jumped up here like I did. I just couldn't help myself.
Oh no, baby, you're fine. You're fine. It's an interesting conversation because the question is, well, actually the question is, what's the answer? How do you make adults comply?
Well, to me, the answer is you have to keep your children safe at any cost. At any cost.
And I totally agree. And I guarantee Whitney is beating herself up just like other people have done when they complied with the court. Because it's a tightrope. It's a tightrope. You're like, okay, well, if I withhold children and then I go to jail for parental kidnapping, some states call it, then how can I parent the children? I mean, I'll just write it out for 2 hours.
Right.
I don't know. There's no simple answer. The truth is, I think he was sick as fuck before he ever went to the army. I think his obsession with his dad being a Green Beret and everything, and the fact that he couldn't get through Army Ranger School. I think there was a lot of other things going on.
Sure.
And he can't be that damn out of it because he's been evading the National Guard, the FBI, local authorities, many sheriff's departments, and the U.S. Marshals for a month.
That's right. That's exactly right. Has nothing to do with intelligence, has nothing to do with their ability to plan, has nothing to do with being manipulative. You're exactly right.
And him telling Whitney, well, I'm just trying to get in. 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 Because I'm sure she asked him quite a bit. Have you seen the doctor? Have you been there? Oh, I'm just trying to get in. I'm just trying to get in. I'm just trying to get in. Oh, okay. Well, there isn't a doctor around here that doesn't take TRICARE.
Right.
I think he just wanted to not take the medication. And there could be a lot of reasons for it. You know, our old friend Katie and her boyfriend Timmy, he's a schizophrenic. He won't take his medication because his pecker don't work.
Yeah, a lot of the medications that that people take that they have to take to stabilize their mood and to especially deal with psychotic type thinking have terrible side effects. So it's kind of like, not everybody, but it's like, you know, you really have to decide, do you want this or do you want that? Because that's the number one reason. That's the number one problem that we have with mental health patients, is that as soon as they feel better, they stop taking their medicine, and it's like a vicious circle over and over and over. They may feel foggy headed. They may gain weight. They may feel drugged. They may feel that they can't think clearly. And when someone is psychotic or even manic, say, you know, sometimes that feels good because you've got a lot of energy. You can get a lot of things done, and people don't want to take their medicine because they enjoy that. But unfortunately, that does not lead to something good.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate. Let's say we just make everything free in America. I mean, everything, all the medications, all the food, everything. Will adults comply? Will they take care of their children?
No, there's no guarantee of that. No, because of everyone's own free will.
Because you know how upset I got with Katie when she's like, oh, well, he doesn't take his medication because then we can't have sex. And I'm like, what?
Right. Which that person, I guess, has a right to say that and think that. But then if that's how they want to be, then that tells me what I need to do. Okay. Like if you don't want to do that and that's what you're supposed to do, and there's a danger of things that could happen, all kinds of different things. If you don't take your medication, then, you know, then you have to decide for yourself, am I going to allow myself to still be around this person knowing that they have a problem, anything could happen at any time, and they don't want to take their medicine? Okay, then pull yourself out of the situation if that's what you need to do.
There's warning labels on everything. On everything. People still have car wrecks. People still smoke.
Yep.
People still do whatever they want to do. This man made a conscious choice to end these girls' lives, according to the police. He had zip ties. He had bags to put over their heads. He zip tied them, suffocated them, and threw them down the ravine.
And I'm going to go so far out on a limb to say that, in my opinion, those things that he did is not necessarily because of a mental illness.
I'm telling you, you're right. This wasn't on a whim. And Whitney believed him. Whitney believed that he was actually trying to get help. Whitney believed that he was really on some waiting list, even though she knew that he wasn't taking his medication. He planned this. Maybe because, the thumb was on him for him to get a job and start paying child support to support his 3 children. God forbid him do that. Get off your ass.
Right.
What, you want to go get a cheeseburger and an ice cream 2 hours every 2 weeks? That's not being a father. No.
Mm-mm.
I think he's nothing more than a fucking lazy ass that wanted to be his father and failed miserably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hell, my father-in-law used to love it. Every year he would go up to Syracuse to the VA and get his new diabetic shoes, get his new kicks. He loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. And if he couldn't get them there, he would go to St. Luke's and they would FedEx him down there. But he filled her head with so much BS, it never occurred to her that he would actually become homicidal.
No, I don't think that anybody would ever think that that's what would be in someone's head that you've lived with and you've been married to and you've had children with. I mean, how would you even start to even think about that? I mean, there's no way she could have known that.
Well, let's think about, cases we've covered over the years. And I don't do a lot of adult cases. I don't. I do children's cases. But let's look at what happens to women when they put their foot down. Some women, I don't mean you, me, anyone in here, when they put their foot down, guess who dies? The woman.
Exactly.
Okay. But he did one up over. He took what was most important to her.
Exactly.
Carrie Clark said no one in their right mind can handle combat. Well, my father-in-law did. His twin brother Jimmy did. My Papa Jack did in World War II, in Korean War. My kids are in the military.
All of my uncles did.
So, I mean, that might be your experience, but I mean, some people, they have the mind for it. But you don't, this is insane. This is insane.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me he's that short of a sandwich in his picnic basket when he has evaded all of this law enforcement for the last month.
Exactly. His executive functioning in his brain is working. He's been able to plan. He's been able to, like you said, successfully, stay away from authorities. He's been able to hide. He's been able to sneak around and plan this and plan that. So, just because you're mentally ill, it doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to do. I mean, a lot of people with Abraham Lincoln had mental illness. I mean, come on, there's a ton of people that did. I agree with what you're saying. I mean, there's something.
Listen, I'm no doctor, and there's no way that anyone's ever going to figure out the brain in combination with our hormones.
No.
Never going to happen. Never going to happen. And I don't know what the fuck Avery was talking about, frontal cortex and cells and shit like that. She just needs to go back to being a psychologist. She's around a lot for someone that has a fucking full-time psychology job. She's probably going to Penn Foster reading books right now. I get so sick of that shit. You can tell she's reading off her fucking phone.
Well, let me ask you a question to think about. Let's say that your spouse had cancer and they had brain cancer and they did this to your children. Would you feel any different? Would they still need to be found and punished for what they did?
Are you kidding me? I don't care if they had a big old goiter hanging off their fucking neck.
Exactly.
and I knew about it for a long time, I'd be like, I don't give a shit what's wrong with them.
Right.
I could give a rat's ass. I could give a rat's ass what's wrong with them. I care more about my children.
Exactly.
And you don't get to go around and kill people. You don't do it.
Nope.
You don't do it. That doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
No, it's not like you can go, oh, you've got a mental illness. God love your heart. I'm so sorry this happened.
Okay, so
No, that doesn't excuse it. No.
Okay, that's the question. And we have no choices to face, because when it comes to Lady Justice doesn't care what's wrong with you. That's the truth.
Exactly. That has more to do with where you're going to go after you're found guilty, in my opinion, than any other thing. Nothing else matters.
It
Mm-hmm.
goes one way or another. You're either going to jail or you're
Mm-hmm.
going to a mental hospital. Either way, you have to be out of society.
Exactly.
So you can't harm anyone else.
Right. Exactly.
Mm. I don't know the answer. I don't. I just, I don't know how to get people to comply with their medication. I don't know if Travis told her the truth or didn't tell her the truth. I have no idea. I have no idea. I just know that 3 beautiful little girls were allegedly murdered by their father. And according to their mother, he was trying to get into the VA, even though
I guess I have a different way of looking at it, because let's say he was trying to get in the VA. Let's say he was saying he was trying to get in the VA and he wasn't. I really don't care, because of what happened,
mm-hmm.
of what the outcome was. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the outcome is these 3 little girls lost their life, and that was nothing but 100% planning.
Exactly.
He picked them up. He had the bags. He had the zip ties. And this whole, he was on the phone in front of his employer the whole time. Then why didn't someone call 911 and say, look, this guy seems to be in distress?
Yes.
Let me tell you what, no ER gives a shit about your insurance. Okay? They don't care. You can wipe your ass with that bill. No. And now we have more money coming in to the VA to get things coming up. But, I don't work in that department. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't work there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what to do? Shit, I kept you guys almost 2.5 hours. I apologize for that. So if you all want, I will talk about the Epstein thing in a couple of hours. If not, we'll do 2 shows tomorrow, because I got to talk to Big T today. Oh, here comes what would Pat do? We can't save them all. Murder is murder. Those 3 girls will never receive justice.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. Thank you. What a great show. Open discussion and, getting topics out. I will say that I feel very bad that I didn't keep it straight on the girls, but you know how I get off topic all the time. I do. I mean, hell, I'll be talking about OJ or things in the garden, but you guys are the absolute best. So I'm going to call it a day. That's enough internet for me for right now. And again, put a 1 in chat if you want to talk about Epstein, because I got a lot of thoughts on this. Put a 2 in if you're like, yeah, Brooks, I'd leave it alone. Or if you're catching the replay, put it in the comments. Either way, be blessed and have a great rest of your day. Just me said too. Nah, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. All right, big round of applause for one of my BFFs, Angel P. Hey, we're not here to be right or wrong. We're here for discussion.
That's
We're here,
right.
we're here for friends. I can't solve the world's problems and no one else can. We have discussions. So when people storm out and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe this, it's a discussion. Makes me wonder how people act in their real lives.
Mm-hmm.
You guys actually are my real life because I adore you. You guys are the absolute best. All right, Ange, we're out.
All right. See you guys later.